Reality is not what it seems. Across these 10 American locations, the laws of nature simply fail. Prepare to witness the anomalies and disappearances that history cannot explain. This is the edge of the unknown. There is a place in northeastern Utah where reality behaves differently. A ranch surrounded by desert and silence, yet known for decades as the most investigated paranormal site in the United States. Skinwalker Ranch earned its reputation in the 1990s when a family reported impossible events almost immediately after moving in. Enormous creatures immune to gunfire, livestock found mutilated with surgical precision, objects vanishing in front of witnesses, and lights in the sky that seemed to observe, not pass by. What makes this place different is not just the sightings, it's the consistency. Scientists, military contractors, and government-linked researchers documented electromagnetic spikes, sudden equipment failures, and intense psychological effects on observers. Compasses spun without reason, batteries drained instantly, cameras shut down at critical moments. Witnesses reported portals opening briefly above the land, shimmering distortions where objects appeared and disappeared. Others described humanoid figures watching from the tree line, vanishing when approached. Some claimed the phenomena reacted intelligently, escalating when studied. The name Skinwalker comes from Navajo legends, a shape-shifting entity capable of taking animal or human form. Local tribes avoided the land long before modern investigations began. Despite years of surveillance, no single explanation has ever held. UFO activity, interdimensional theories, secret military testing, all have been proposed, none proven. Skinwalker Ranch remains active today, and those who study it agree on one thing: something there knows it is being watched. Across the United States, scattered in small towns and quiet cities, there are cafes known as Yellow Delis. They look harmless: rustic interiors, homemade bread, friendly smiles. But behind them stands one of America's most controversial closed religious communities, the 12 Tribes. The group traces its origins to the 1970s counterculture movement, preaching a return to biblical living. Members reject modern society, give up personal property, and live communally under strict hierarchy and obedience. Colorado has become one of their key strongholds. Former members describe life inside as tightly controlled. Children are raised collectively, homes are segregated by gender, and dissent is treated as spiritual rebellion. Critics and human rights organizations have accused the group of psychological manipulation, child labor, and physical punishment, allegations the 12 Tribes firmly deny. The Yellow Delis play a crucial role. They are not just restaurants, they are recruitment hubs. Curious visitors are welcomed, fed, and slowly introduced to the group's beliefs. Some say conversations feel warm and sincere at first, until the pressure to stay, help, or learn more begins. Former insiders claim many members were drawn in during moments of vulnerability, grief, isolation, or searching for purpose. The most disturbing aspect? Leaving is said to be harder than joining. Ex-members report being cut off from family, losing contact with children, and facing intense guilt conditioning if they attempt to leave the community. To outsiders, the 12 Tribes appear peaceful, but behind the handmade furniture and fresh bread lies a tightly sealed world, one that few enter willingly, and even fewer leave unchanged. In a remote area of New Mexico, carved into a massive stone slab, lies one of the most disturbing archaeological anomalies ever found in the United States. It's known as the Decalogue Stone. Discovered in the early 20th century, the stone bears a long inscription written in ancient Paleo-Hebrew. The text closely resembles the Ten Commandments, laws traditionally associated with ancient Israel. There's only one problem. According to established history, no Hebrew-speaking civilization should have been anywhere near North America at the time this inscription was supposedly made. The stone was found buried deep in the ground, alongside artifacts resembling ancient altars and stone tools. Linguistic experts confirmed that the script was not modern Hebrew, but an archaic form used thousands of years ago in the Middle East. Skeptics immediately cried hoax, but no one could explain how a forger in rural New Mexico would know an obscure version of Hebrew that wasn't widely documented at the time of discovery. Even more troubling, the weathering on the stone suggested extreme age. If authentic, the Decalogue Stone would rewrite the history of human migration. It would imply that people from the Old World crossed oceans long before Columbus and brought their laws, beliefs, and language with them. The stone was eventually removed and stored away. Official interest faded. Funding for further research quietly disappeared. Today, it remains locked in archives, rarely discussed in mainstream archaeology. Some researchers believe the stone was deliberately buried in silence, not because it was fake, but because it challenged everything historians thought they knew. In October 2009, an entire family vanished without a trace in the mountains of Oklahoma. No struggle, no ransom, no goodbye. Bobby and Sherilyn Jamison, along with their 6-year-old daughter Madison, were preparing to buy land near Red Oak, a remote forested area. Shortly after, all contact stopped. Days later, their truck was found abandoned on a dirt road. Inside were their wallets, IDs, cell phones, and over $30,000 in cash neatly stacked. Their dog was inside, alive but severely dehydrated. But the most disturbing discovery came later. On the family's camera, investigators found a series of strange photographs taken inside their home. Dark, blurry images, a briefcase full of money, Madison standing expressionless, staring past the camera. No context, no explanation. Friends reported the Jamisons had recently become paranoid. They believed their home was haunted. Sherilyn claimed to see shadowy figures. Bobby had filed lawsuits and acted increasingly erratic. Some thought they were preparing to flee. Others feared something was watching them. For 4 years, no trace of the family was found. Then, in 2013, hikers discovered skeletal remains scattered in a remote area, only a few miles from where the truck had been abandoned. The bones belonged to the Jamison family. The cause of death was never determined. No signs of violence, no clear explanation of how or why they died. The photos remain unexplained, the money was untouched, and no theory fully fits. The Jamison family didn't just disappear, they left behind a puzzle that still refuses to make sense. Hidden deep in the mountains of western Montana lies a town that time forgot but never truly left. Garnet Ghost Town is considered one of the best preserved ghost towns from the American Gold Rush era. Founded in the 1990s after a major gold discovery, Garnet quickly exploded into a booming settlement. At its peak, it housed over 1,000 residents, complete with saloons, hotels, schools, and a thriving main street. Then, almost as quickly as it rose, Garnet began to die. Fires destroyed key buildings, harsh winters isolated the town, gold veins ran dry. By the 1910s, families packed up and left, abandoning homes with furniture still inside, dishes on tables, and personal belongings untouched. But what makes Garnet truly unsettling isn't just its preservation. Visitors report footsteps echoing through empty buildings, doors slamming without wind, and voices drifting through the forest at night. Rangers have found lights in structures with no electricity. Some claim to see figures standing in second-floor windows, watching. Unlike many ghost towns, Garnet was never stripped for parts or vandalized beyond recognition. It feels paused, not abandoned. Historians say this makes it a perfect time capsule. Paranormal researchers say it makes it something else entirely. A place where the people may have left, but something else stayed behind. Today, Garnet is protected as a historic site. You can walk its streets, enter its buildings, stand where miners once planned their futures. Just don't be surprised if you feel like you're not alone. Because in Garnet, the gold rush may be over, but the town never truly emptied.
For decades, residents along the east coast of the United States have reported the same terrifying phenomenon: a sudden explosion in the sky. No warning, no visible aircraft, no storm clouds, just a deep, thunderous boom that rattles windows, shakes houses, and sends people running outside, convinced something has crashed. These events have been reported in states like Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and New York. Entire neighborhoods hear them at the same time. Seismic sensors sometimes register them. Emergency lines flood with calls. But when authorities investigate, they find nothing. No wreckage, no military exercises, no earthquakes, no sonic booms officially recorded. In some cases, the sound is described as a single massive blast. In others, multiple booms echo across the sky like artillery fire. Witnesses often report pressure waves strong enough to knock objects off shelves. The U.S. military frequently denies involvement. The FAA reports no aircraft capable of producing such sounds in the area. And weather agencies rule out thunder or atmospheric anomalies. Scientists have proposed explanations: meteor airbursts, rare atmospheric pressure shifts, or distant industrial activity. But none of these theories fully explain why the booms are so localized, so powerful, and so frequent in certain regions. What makes the mystery darker is the pattern. Many booms occur near coastal areas. Some happen at night. Others strike clear, calm afternoons. In a few cases, people report seeing brief flashes in the sky moments before the sound. Nothing is ever found afterward. No crater, no debris, no answers. Today, these incidents are officially labeled as unexplained acoustic events. But for those who've heard them, felt them, and watched their homes tremble, it doesn't feel unexplained. It feels like something is happening above us, and no one is telling us what it is.
In West Palm Beach, Florida, stands a Victorian house with a reputation so disturbing that no family has ever managed to live there peacefully. This is the Riddle House. It was built in the early 1900s and later became associated with Joseph Riddle, a railroad worker who was brutally murdered on the nearby tracks. After his death, the house began to change. Workers reported footsteps echoing through empty rooms, doors slammed on their own. Objects vanished and reappeared in different places. At night, lights turned on in rooms with no electricity. But the most unsettling pattern came later. Every tenant who tried to live in the Riddle House left within weeks. Some fled after hearing whispers calling their names. Others woke up to the feeling of hands pressing on their chest, unable to move or scream. Several residents claimed the house became colder near the attic, where shadowy figures were seen watching from corners. Children refused to sleep inside. Pets panicked without explanation. Eventually, the house was moved to Yesteryear Village and turned into a historical exhibit.
the phenomena didn't stop. Security guards reported being pushed, scratched, and followed by unseen presences. One guard quit after being thrown down a staircase. Cameras malfunctioned. Audio recordings captured voices speaking when no one was there. Paranormal investigators later suggested the house was not haunted by a single spirit, but by something territorial, something that doesn't want the living inside. The Riddle House doesn't chase people away. It waits until they leave on their own. As Lake Mead continues to dry up, something far more disturbing than cracked earth and sunken boats is being revealed. Bodies. Lake Mead, the largest reservoir in the United States, supplies water to millions across Nevada, Arizona, and California. But beneath its surface lies a history that was never meant to resurface. Since the water levels began dropping rapidly in the early 2020s, human remains have been discovered again and again. Some are decades old. Some are tied to unsolved missing person cases. Others show signs that point to murder. One of the most chilling discoveries was a body found inside a rusted barrel, a method strongly associated with organized crime during Las Vegas's mob era. Investigators believe it may have been dumped as far back as the 1970s or 80s, when Lake Mead was deep enough to hide almost anything forever. But the bodies aren't the only mystery. Divers report eerie experiences while searching the depths: sudden equipment malfunctions, disorientation, and the overwhelming sensation of being watched. Some claim to hear unexplained tapping sounds through their gear. Others say their lights briefly illuminate shapes that vanish instantly in the murk. Sunken vehicles, abandoned camps, and even remnants of old towns now rest exposed, creating a labyrinth of hazards beneath the surface. Authorities admit a grim truth. As the lake continues to recede, more remains are expected to surface. More secrets, more crimes, more unanswered questions. Lake Mead was once thought to be a perfect hiding place. Now, as the water retreats, it's giving everything back. And it's only just beginning.
On January 7, 1948, the skies over Kentucky became the stage for one of the most disturbing UFO incidents in U.S. history, the Mantell Crash. Captain Thomas F. Mantell, an experienced Air Force pilot and World War II veteran, was ordered to intercept an unidentified object reported by civilians and military personnel alike. Witnesses described it as enormous, metallic, and glowing, moving slowly but purposefully across the sky. Mantell took off in a P-51 Mustang, a fighter plane not equipped with pressurized oxygen. As he climbed higher, radio contact grew strained. Mantell reported the object was directly above me and appears metallic and tremendous in size. Then, communication abruptly stopped. Moments later, his aircraft spiraled out of control and crashed into a field near Franklin, Kentucky. Mantell was killed instantly. The U.S. Air Force quickly issued an explanation. The pilot had mistaken the planet Venus or a weather balloon for a UFO and lost consciousness due to oxygen deprivation. But this explanation raised more questions than answers. Multiple witnesses reported the object moved against the wind, changed speed, and remained visible for hours, behavior inconsistent with balloons or planets. Radar logs and military statements were later revised, altered, or quietly dismissed. The Mantell crash became the first officially recorded death linked to a UFO encounter. To believers, Mantell died pursuing something not of this world. To skeptics, he was a victim of misidentification and altitude sickness. But one fact remains undeniable. A trained military pilot chased something he did not recognize and never came back. Across the United States, millions of people report the same terrifying experience: waking up unable to move, breathe properly, or scream while sensing a presence in the room. This phenomenon is known clinically as sleep paralysis, but folklore gives it a darker name, the night hag. Victims describe eerily similar details even when they've never heard of the condition before. A heavy weight on the chest, a shadowy figure standing nearby, a sense of pure, paralyzing dread. Some report whispers, others see a humanoid shape sitting on their chest, watching them. According to U.S. medical studies, over 8% of Americans experience sleep paralysis at least once in their lives. Emergency rooms receive thousands of reports annually from people convinced they were attacked, suffocated, or abducted. What unsettles researchers is the consistency. Reports from different states, cultures, and age groups describe nearly identical entities: tall, dark figures, faceless silhouettes, glowing eyes, or a female shape with distorted limbs. Historical records show the same descriptions dating back centuries. In colonial America, it was blamed on witchcraft. Enslaved communities spoke of a night spirit that rode the sleeper. In modern times, some link it to alien abductions or shadow beings. Neurology explains it as the brain waking before the body, the mind conscious, the muscles locked. But this explanation doesn't account for shared visuals, sensations of pressure, or cases where multiple people in the same house report identical encounters. Some experiencers insist this is not a dream. They felt the presence move. They heard footsteps. They were fully awake. Whether neurological misfire, ancient fear embedded in the human brain, or something else entirely, the night hag phenomenon remains one of America's most widespread and deeply personal unexplained terrors, and it happens in your own bed. 10 stories, 1 question. How much do we really know? If you enjoyed this deep dive, like the video and subscribe for more mysteries. Share your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next one.